Welcome. This is a video related to Yamnaya population turnover event or turnover of the world, at least Eurasia. Population turnover, Malta and Gozo. The builders of the Cartwrights in Malta were the population before the latest and abrupt Yamnaya turnover event that came to an end in Western Eurasia roughly 4000 BP before present, and knowledge, including the Cartwrights, propelling of the carts, braking of the carts, lifting mechanisms, liquid limestone, production of liquid limestone, slabs, topography, canal building, mining by leaching, astronomy, knowledge about the precession of the Earth axis, domestication, which is related to hybridization, was lost instantly or in a short period of time. Did genome collapse or violence or both take place? Similar events, collapses, loss of knowledge happened in the Indus Valley, the Harappa culture, Egypt, pyramids, although later. What I want to say here is not decline of Egypt, it's more about the knowledge about how the pyramids were built. So you have a population turnover, which involved a lot of knowledge, strategy, and then you have in sequence several collapses. So just interesting feats that are related to Malta and to the Cartwrights in Malta and other islands, and including Italy. So this is this video. Giant tower is a construction, megalith construction. This is also an interesting site, and what I want to inform you that is there is plenty of interesting information, even independently of the subject of the population turnover. That is my focus in this video. This is a location of Cartwrights. So the Cartwrights come to the cliff, and then somehow with lifts are delivered to ships. That is at least what I think, because the other mines are on this lower side of the island, and then seemingly a very busy Cartwright system is on the higher side with the high cliffs. But it seems to me that this mine was still so interesting that they made efforts, big efforts, to bring it down to the ports, or possibly to the other side of the island, but then it would have been much more distant than any other of the mines, much closer and much closer to sea level. So here's some ruts, card ruts, and I selected this picture because there seems to be a construction. I don't know if it's megalith or not, so I wonder if it's megalith and if it's supposed to be a temple or a deposit in the back of the tracks of the car ruts. I don't go into this detail, but there's a lot of information right there. Very fascinating. I showed this print screen of this video at 1 minute 54 because it's a sleeping lady, and I think there is some potential in studying these Venuses or mother goddesses, because they have to do with, let's say, the population turnover we are talking about of the world, and of course fertility plays a very large role when you want to take over the world, killing the males and including probably important part of the females too. So fertility of the incoming people is obviously very important. So it's a kind of a mother goddess. So I personally think this video, oh no, is this video Texian temples? Yes, this video is very interesting. Well, for at least for a visual effect in the intro, because it shows how these ancient people should have visualized certain events. I don't go into detail, so only showing there's a lot of material. Such a hole in a pillar can be found in Göbekli Tepe as well. It could be a hole as an entry of sunlight into the black box interior of a temple, or even not interior. I think that I see several similarities with Göbekli Tepe and Stonehenge as well, but especially with Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, which are much older than, for instance, Stonehenge. Göbekli Tepe to 12,800 BP before present. Probably another goddess or Venus figure. I think it's more goddess, pregnancy, fertility than it is Venus. This is in Malta, but it's very similar to Göbekli Tepe. Some of these structures, supposed temples, for me they are more military structures, but also religious, than it are temples. So together with these people coming from the Americas, so what I was trying to say, that with the arrival of the new people or race in mass from North America, plague Yersinia pestis was introduced. So this link is about these Bronze Age skeletons being the earliest plague victims. So these are the arriving groups as we know them: Corded-ware people, Sintasha, we already talked about, are some examples. You see it here as well, Bronze Age plague sites. So as I said before, I think, is that they came in by Nova Zembla because the ice is better. Later they came in by what is today's St. Petersburg. So let's focus on the main entry, at least with animals, is the upriver and the Yenisei River to Altai Mountains. So these are some of the Bronze Age plague sites. And then there's another entry from the upriver, I think it's a later entry, to just above Kazakhstan. This is Kazakhstan, in this area, Sintashta, south of the Ural, which runs Nova Zembla, Ural, and there the Sintashta were located. That is relatively close to today's Moscow, somewhere over here. So the new arriving people brought plague, and they themselves were, at least at that time, resistant to a certain degree or totally. Since they took over everything there was, or largely everything that was there before them, partially using plague as warfare, but they were real warriors. They had chariots and the horses, etc., and metal weapons. So it's not sure how much the plague, Yersinia pestis, played a role in the population turnover event of Western Eurasia, and in a similar way of the world, except the Americas, because that's where they were coming from. So I will talk about this more in another video just here. Britain's prehistoric catastrophe. This is just focused on Britain, but this was valid for all Western Europe and all of Eurasia. So ancient Britons may have been nearly wiped out by bubonic plague brought by the newcomers to the island, but it's brought by newcomers, but not only to the island, that means Britain. This is a worldwide movement and a worldwide installing of plague who is not resistant and is not killed yet by the invaders coming from North America will die by plague. So Britain experienced mysterious, it's not mysterious after the DNA research of David Reich, ancient DNA research, because it's obvious in the DNA. So after the population turnover event, the builders of Stonehenge are not detectable anymore. But I still insist that even the builders were related to the population takeover event and the let's say the successful invaders, that is us today. I still think they are related, and the research of David Reichs proves this, because the people that arrive are haplogroup R1b with a certain variant, a certain additional mutation, recent, and the builders, at least some of them, are haplogroup R1b as well, so they have the same haplogroup. The new arrivals that are so dominantly or maybe aggressive, but I suppose there was absorption, at least of an important part of the women. So it's not mysterious. It's mysterious because very little is talked about. This is one of the articles I found that, apart from the scientific report of David Reich, that more or less explains what happened. So I consider it very important, and the link is showed above. They talk, in the article they talk about the new genetic discoveries. I'm quite sure this is the research of David Reich, but in a more readable form. But just for Britain, so even while this is only one of the very few articles I came across, it doesn't show the dimension of the population turnover event. This is basically taking over the world. The ones that were before, this is interesting, according to this article, but most probably coming from the research of David Reich, is that the ones that were before only survived substantially in Sardinia. I think that is why David Reich compares what he finds in France, the population in France, he compares it with the population in Sardinia and the Native Americans in general. And what he finds is that Northern Europeans here, like in France, today are more related with Native Americans than with Sardinians. That is logical because it are Native Americans arriving in Western Europe and in Western Eurasia. So this is David Reich. This is the title of the video. Ancient DNA and the New Science of the Human Past. It's quite recent, 2021, and again showing red is Native Americans, and closest to the red is yellow. I don't see a lot of orange, so yellow, and yellow is the Native Americans arriving in Western Europe, but they don't go this way, they go the other way, the Gulf Stream, the North Atlantic Gyre, and arrive in Europe. If you throw a bottle here in North America in the ocean, it will arrive in Europe. So that's what the Native Americans, the new population, the hybrids, what they did to arrive in Western Europe, in Western Eurasia. And you see that there's even more of these of the origin in South America and Mid America than there is in North America. So there's first a movement from South America to North America with the North Atlantic Gyre to Western Europe, and one of the places that they will encounter in between is Great Britain, and that's why the effect in Great Britain is so large. And anyhow, the focus here was these new people coming from North America brought plague, Yersinia pestis, and this helped them to conquer the world. So at the same time, that's an alert even today. And the World Health Organizations are warning that plague is re-emerging, and you see what it can do to groups, populations, even the world population, what it can do if they are not resistant enough, if they don't have immunity anymore. And we better be prepared that we don't have immunity anymore, because we use almost for a century antibiotics with any case that appears, which is good. This is what we call surveillance and control, and that is backed by health organizations and World Health Organizations. So that is good, but it has one disadvantage: our immune systems are not trained against it anymore. So we need to understand what makes us vulnerable to plague and other bacteria, and to give us more resistance even without having contact with plague, to make us more resistant by getting ill or even die, because that's what happened. Plague is a very ugly disease, and it's just one of the bacterial diseases. So certainly some of the next videos will handle this subject. How can we increase resistance, immunity against bacterial diseases like plague that are re-emerging. The World Health Organizations are telling us and scientists that plague is re-emerging. And I don't think people are aware of this, and I think that people are even less aware that our immune systems are not trained anymore against certain bacteria like plague. Hope to see you in the next videos. Thanks for watching. Bye.